Hey, 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 hey. Yeah, we are here and we are live. It is dark out. It is still dark out this morning. Holy moly. Getting a late start. As a matter of fact, what's funny is I didn't even just mean to go live all of a sudden, but I did. I hope I hit live on the right channel. My goodness. Woo, good morning. I'm putting the baby monitor up. Oh boy. Hey, good morning. My morning's a little discombobulated because I'm putting on the baby monitor and everything. My wife left and went to the gym, and if I'm loud and my baby wakes up, I'm on baby duty. But good morning. Let's see here. Hey, who do we have on? Who do we have on this morning? I'm getting things set up. Sorry, you guys, I'm getting a little bit of a late start. A little bit of a late start this morning. There we go. All right. I figure we stretch out the back a little bit today. So we'll get the boots on and we will hang for a second. So good morning. How are you? This is Physical and Financial Fitness with Patrick. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get crack-a-lack in here in just a minute. Let's get my Bluetooth going. Alrighty. Then, bum-ba-da-da-da, bum-ba-da-da-da. Let's see here. Plug this in, boom shakalaka, and we will put this little guy right here. Bing bada boom. Hello, Ruslan, how you doing? Good morning, y'all, or good afternoon if you're from the East Coast. I guess it's not exactly afternoon, but good morning. My name is Patrick. I do physical and financial fitness here in the mornings from my dungeon gym. We talk about how to become better physically, get in our best physical shape we can possibly get in, no matter what age and no matter where we're starting from, health-wise or fitness-wise. So we're going to get in our best shape ever physically, and we want to get in our best shape ever financially, guys. So that's what we do here. We help each other in the mornings on these lives on YouTube, and I come live from my garage gym. I don't like to go to the gym, so I built a little tiny gym here in my garage. We call it the dungeon. So we come live 6:30 to 8 a.m. here from my dungeon. We have a live interaction and Q&A where we talk about physical and financial fitness. That's really what this is for. So if you like to be in your best physical shape ever and your best financial shape ever, that's what we want to do here together in the mornings is get moving, right? If I can be someone's inspiration for them to work out, to try to get in their best shape they can be in, no matter what age or where you're starting from, just to be in your best shape. It's not comparing ourselves to fitness influencers. It's not comparing ourselves to professional bodybuilders and that kind of thing, guys. It's comparing ourselves to who we were 5 years ago. You know, that kind of thing. So can we just get on track to be the healthiest we can be physically? That's what I want to be here to motivate you to do. And then also, can we be in our best financial shape? You know? It's never fun to be unhealthy and sick and have no energy. Not fun. It's never fun to be broke and have to worry about money all the time and stress out about that. So, you know, those are the two things we talk about here on my lives. Good morning, Andy. Let's see, we got Ruslan in here. We got Andy. We got, I don't know how to pronounce that, but we're going to call you It's. So what's up, It's? What's up, Andy? What's up, everybody? So today, the subject matter, guys, really that I want to discuss is how we've been sort of taught some upside down theories about money. And one of those is that people chase $1 million but don't build any passive monthly cash flow. So people are always trying to stack cash. People are trying to figure out how much money will I have, right? Have you ever heard that? Like, how much money will I have when I retire? Right? So this is an amount of money. It's almost like cash hoarding, right? So the subject of this video today is would we spend, oh, hey, Aiden, good to meet you then, buddy. Thanks for telling me your name, by the way. But what we got to do is we got to figure this out, okay, guys? There's two ways to go about doing this. One is the normal route that everybody's been sold, which is the retirement route we've all been sold, which is to go and try to save up as much money as possible. Right? That's pretty much it, right? So the theory today is, do you spend the time and the effort and the energy trying to get to saving $1 million? Or instead, do we just try to get on track right now today in building bits of passive cash flow? And that's the subject, right? So there is a difference between having $1 million and retiring with that. Okay. And retiring meaning, guys, you get to quit working, right? Does that make sense? Retiring is not necessarily an age. Retirement usually is an amount of money. And so when we're talking about that, it's like people want to save up all this money. People want to build up all this retirement, and they save money. Why? Because if you retire with $1 million and you put the $1 million to work at 6%, in a safe investment, because the number one thing we're not going to do is risk our money when we're retiring, right? Can't go backwards and rebuild it again. So we have to be protective over our principal and try not to lose any money, right? That's number one. But if we retired with $1 million, I want you guys to do this math, okay? 5% interest is a very safe rate of return, okay? Oh, Andy, I'm sad you got to be in and out, man. It's so funny. You missed yesterday. Dexter ended up coming over to my garage. He made an impromptu stop by. And in yesterday's live, we had the 95-pound curl challenge where I put the Olympic bar and two 25-pound plates on the sides. And it said that most average men cannot do a curl, with 95 pounds on an Olympic bar. And Dexter came over here. A good friend of mine ended up knocking on my garage door when I was in the middle of the live, and Dexter came over here, and we were trying to do the 95-pound curl challenge, and it's harder than people think. So Dexter couldn't quite get it up. He was close, but that was funny. But it didn't happen until the end of yesterday's live. So it was like an hour and a half into the live when we were trying to get Dexter to curl 95 pounds over here in the garage, but. It's a lot harder than people think. So, yeah, we don't talk about that kind of stuff on here. We talk about fitness and finance. And today we're talking about the big difference between saving up $1 million and having $1 million to retire with. Well, if you put $1 million to work at 5% interest, which to earn 5% on your money as a retired person is a fairly good return based on safety. So, when you're trying to look at something where you're protecting your principal, you're not losing money, but you want to have your money working for you in retirement, $1 million at 5% earns you how much per year? Simple math. But if you have $1 million in your retirement, you've saved up $1 million, which most people won't, by the way. Okay. But you save up $1 million and you put $1 million to work at 5%. So funny. I hope people aren't getting kicked out. We have technical difficulties with YouTube sometimes, but if you have $1 million at 5%, what are you earning per year? So if your whole life you worked your ass off and you saved up $1 million, which most people will not do, but I'm just saying, if you were able to save $1 million, right? And you put it to work at 5%, how much money would you be earning? What would you be living off of per year by way of interest? It's 50 grand, right, guys? So if you put a 50 grand, which is less than $5,000 a month, right? How much is that? So by way of math, guys, if we save up $1 million and we put $1 million to work at 5% in a good, safe investment when we're retired, that'll allow us to make $50,000 per year of income, right? And that's how people think they should retire. So we've been taught things a little bit upside down and backwards, I think, which is why I was going to stretch my back out this morning. Got a golf tournament this weekend, and we're going to do some stretching and some core work and stuff like that today. We're going to take it easy today. I worked out really hard yesterday, and then after working out really hard yesterday, I went and I walked and played golf. I walked the golf course yesterday afternoon, and I know that sometimes our bodies need a little bit of a break, but I need some stretching, so that's what we're going to do today a little bit. If you guys ever seen these boots, these things are pretty cool. Allow you to hang upside down, but it's traction therapy, so it really stretches out your spine and your back and stuff like that. So we're going to hang like a vampire here for a little bit. But get this, right? So should we, I guess the question is this, should we really spend our lives like a lot of people do, which I'm calling it like an upside down way of thinking. That's why I'm about to hang upside down while we talk about it, okay? But the upside down way of thinking is trying to work your whole life and save and save and save and save and create this large sum of money that when we retire, we now have this large sum of money that we can put to work at, say, 5% return or something like that. That allows one in retirement, if you put $1 million to work at 5% in a safe investment in your retirement, it allows you to have $50,000 per year to live off of. So $1 million saved. When you retire, you put it to work in a safe investment where you won't lose your money and you're getting something like around 5%, which would be a fair return for a very safe investment. And now you've got $50,000 per year. That's what you're living off of. That's your retirement income. It's not a lot, guys. It's hardly survival money in most places nowadays. And did you know that most people won't save $1 million? It's very difficult to save $1 million. You can do all the math and you can say, if someone put away $100 a week, it would take them 88 years to save that much money or something like that. The math is crazy. If you save $1,000 a month, okay, you can do the math and how long it'll take you to save $1 million. So most people will not save $1 million, number one, but if people saved $1 million and put it to work at 5%, they'd be making 50 grand a year in retirement. So what really is a better plan? Is it a better plan to try to save up $1 million and work your ass off your whole life trying to get that done so that when you're very old and can't even enjoy retirement anymore because you don't have energy, then you can finally retire and you barely retire with crumbs? Is that we've been taught an upside down way to think, right? So in that, I would look at just trying to create passive cash flow. If you think about this, guys, think about this theory. If somebody saved up $1 million and then put it to work at 5%, they're making 50 grand a year, right? Divided by 12, which is what, $4,500 a month or something like that. So we could just concentrate right now on little by little building up passive cash flow. Not all at once, but little by little, building up passive cash flow. $200 a month passive here, $500 a month passive there, $1,000 a month over here passive. And if we build it up, obviously retirement can come much easier and much faster. In your mind, does it sound easier to save up $1 million? Or does it sound easier to create $5,000 a month of income? So if you thought about that, that's the equivalent. Okay, if somebody can create $5,000 a month of passive income, they're the same as a millionaire. Does it make sense, guys? It's the same as somebody who has $1 million that they're able to invest at 5%. Somebody creates $4,500 a month in passive cash flow. Doesn't have to be from one source, but if you create $4,500 a month from passive cash flow, you're at the same financial status of somebody that has $1 million and they put it to work at 5% for retirement. And you're already there. Does that make sense? And if you thought about this, then if somebody was able to create $10,000 a month of passive cash flow, they're in the same financial position basically as somebody that saved up $2 million. Does that make sense? But here's the thing. Most people will not save up that kind of money, period. Most people won't. Most people don't even have $1 million in their IRA or 401k, let alone that kind of money saved up. So guys, it's pretty impossible for most people to be saving $1 million, but it's not impossible for each and every one of us to create couple $1,000s a month in passive cash flow. So you got $4,500 a month in passive cash flow coming in. You are equal to that of a retired millionaire, somebody that retired with $1 million. I hope that just makes sense to you guys. So that was just the subject matter I wanted to talk about today, because we've all been taught something that's upside down. That's why I'm going to stretch my back right now. And we're going to, get a little hangage upside down here. But it is upside down. We've been taught a little bit upside down. What's up, Eureka? Yep, better get started. There's no better time to start than today, right? Than today. And we could talk about ways to start, to start earning passive cash flow. Like I said, it's not going to be all at once. If you have $200 a month coming in from this source and $500 a month coming in from this source and so on, you can get to about $4,000 or $5,000 a month in passive cash flow. We all have the ability to do that with some hard work. But then looking at each other and saying, well, how close are you to saving $1 million? Most people in our friends, family, circle, colleagues will be $1 million. Are you kidding me? It's so far out of reach to save this $1 million that it seems impossible. And most of the time, for most people, it'll never happen. So in thinking about that, isn't it easier on your mind to think that we could build passive cash flow instead? So if we could build enough passive cash flow, we can retire. So retirement's not about age, is it? Even though that's what we've been taught. Again, we have upside down theories and upside down thoughts we've been taught, guys. When you talk about retirement, people say, hey, what age are you planning to retire? And all they're saying is, at what age will you finally be financially stable enough to not have to go to work? It's not age that's retirement. It's amount of passive monthly cash flow that creates retirement. So if you have enough passive monthly cash flow, you can retire at any age, right? Do you have to wait till you're 55 or 65 years old to retire if you have enough passive cash flow coming in? Of course not. So retirement, financial freedom in retirement, doing what you want to do with your life, has to happen when you have enough passive cash flow coming in to pay your bills. So it's wild to think that if somebody saved up $1 million and put it to work at 5%, they're only getting 50 grand per year to live off of. That's wild, right? So in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I believe that we've been a little bit upside down with our thinking. So that's why I'm going to get upside down here for you guys while we talk about it. But I got to make sure I don't die. It's one of the things we don't want to do. We don't want to go dying. Okay, that should work. So what do you think about that, guys? That's an interesting take, though, right? It's an interesting take to say, look, people are trying to save up a bunch of money and cash hoard, and then maybe hopefully retire someday. And then figure they're going to live off of that money for the rest of their life. And if you retire at 65 years old and you live to 90, you realize if you retire at 65 years old and you live to 90, that there's a lot of years in there, guys. That's 25 more years that you've got to pay your bills and live and eat food and do all this other stuff. And so a lot of people are afraid and when they get to retirement too, that they're going to run out of money, which is fair, right? If you have $1 million and you start tapping into the $1 million you've got when you retire, that's going to dwindle away and you'll end up broke. You may outlive your money. That's a very scary thing for people at that age. They're scared they'll outlive their money. That's wild. And so if they don't want to spend the money they've saved, right, and they don't want to lose their retirement money, they're going to put that money in a safe investment that produces them a return, and they're going to try to live off the return. So I hope I'm making points to you guys that, yeah, if you put $1 million to work at 5%, you're only earning 50 grand a year. That's hard to live off of, But you can figure out ways to make $5,000 a month passive income, which puts you at that status right away. So it's funny that I tell people that within about 2 to 3 years' time in the note investing business, which is what I do, but in buying real estate debt, in 2 to 3 years' time, very easily, most people could get to about a $5,000 a month passive cash flow level. Sometimes people work their whole lives for 50 years and finally have $1 million to retire with. And when they retire with the $1 million, they usually invest it in a very safe investment. And that safe investment may be at 5%, which is fair, right? CD accounts and annuities and these things that there's not real much risk of losing their principal, because that's the number one thing. They're protecting that $1,000,000. They don't want to outlive their money and start losing their money they have. So they put the money to work in a safe investment, usually around a 5% return at $1,000,000. They're earning 50 grand a year. That's like 4,000 and something bucks a month, right? When you do the division. So how can we all just get to a point where as quickly as possible, hey, say within the next 2 to 3 years, we get to a position where we're earning $4,000 or $5,000 a month in passive cash flow? Most people work their whole lives to retire with next to nothing. And I'm saying within the next 2 to 3 years, we can be at a $4,000 or $5,000 a month passive cash flow level, putting us equal to somebody that retired with $1,000,000 and put it to work at 5%. Wild, right? John, I don't scam anybody. How many people do you bust into their lives and make stupid comments without listening or watching their content first? That's the better question. How many people do you bust in on their lives and make stupid comments because you're bored? Better question. I don't scam anybody, bro. I'm trying to give an analogy here of retirement. So if you listen for a minute, maybe you'll learn something. We're trying to talk about passive cash flow versus saving lots of money to retire with is what we're talking about. I love when haters come in here and just drop stupid comments for nothing. When you go look at their accounts, they have zero content, zero videos, zero value to add to the planet. Just coming in here to be little kids, immature. But yeah, no, we're talking about real retirement. So, you either try to save up money your whole damn life and then put it into a safe investment and try to live off the interest, or why? Why would we wait 30, 40 years of busting our ass to retire? And to retire, let's say you're lucky enough to retire with $1,000,000, which people are not. But if you retired with $1,000,000 and put it to work at 5%, you're making 50 grand a year. That's hardly enough money to live off of. So why wouldn't we just work right now, whatever age we're at? Why wouldn't we start working right now to start creating some passive cash flow? If you created 4 or 5 grand a month in passive cash flow, and it doesn't matter how you do it, right? People own laundry mats. I invest in mortgage notes. People own rental properties for real estate. There's all sorts of different ways to create passive cash flow. You don't have to do what I do. But that passive cash flow is what sets you free. It's not how much money you've got. So I just wanted to, it's kind of upside down. That's why I was going to hang upside down and talk to you guys a little bit about it. Stretch my back out here this morning. But isn't that kind of an upside down way we've been taught? To have a whole boatload of money so that when we retire, we can live right. But people have difficulty, guys, that are busy working full-time jobs and not making high levels of income. Who in the hell do you know that's going to save up $1,000,000? And when they're 65 years old, they're going to have $1,000,000 in the bank and they're going to be able to put that $1,000,000 to work and live a great life. No. Most people are not. The average person in America retires with less than $100,000 or 100 grand. That's wild, right? So I'm afraid of kind of the next upcoming generations in retirement, because the Social Securities and the pensions and these things, who knows where they're going to be. And people are not building up massive cash reserves to be able to invest that and live off their interest. So I'm kind of scared for future society of our elders. But I'm not fearful for those who understand that it's all about passive cash flow. It's not about an amount of money. It's all about passive cash flow. Passive cash flow is what sets people free financially. Does that make sense? So does it matter if you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, or 50 years old? If you had enough passive cash flow coming in, you could retire. Does that make sense? So I hope I'm just making a point today. I'm giving you guys a little bit of a point to soak in. Is it easier on your brain to figure out how to make 5 grand a month in passive cash flow? Or is it easier on your brain to figure out by the time you're 65 how you're going to have more than $1,000,000 saved up? What's easier? Honestly, I'll tell you what's easier. It's a hell of a lot easier to, oh, there you go. Ah, yeah. Oh, it feels so good. Oh, yeah. So, let's put this right there so we can chat. There you go. Oh, it looks funny hanging upside down. But if you guys ever have a chance to get these ankle boots and hang upside down, it stretches your back out. Ah, it's so good on your spine. But so anyways, guys, it is a little bit upside down. I thought that would be funny. But it is a little bit upside down what we've been taught.
when it comes to retirement. Retirement's not about age, and retirement's not about a certain amount of money. Retirement is about a certain amount of monthly passive cash flow coming into the bank. And if you have monthly cash flow coming in that supplements your lifestyle, you can retire if you're 20, 30, 40, or 50 years old. Doesn't matter what age you are. So let's talk about passive cash flow and what ways you guys could come up with to get some passive cash flow. And oh boy. Oh, yes. Oh. I don't know if you guys have ever hung upside down in these ankle boots, boy, but let me tell you something. It is good traction therapy for the spine. It stretches your back out really nicely. Like to hang a little bit after I play golf because, you know, your back can tighten up pretty good with golf swings, but these are kind of fun. My daughter likes to come out here, and if she sees me hanging upside down, she gets a giggle. But these are pretty cool, okay? Stretch your back out, do some traction therapy, get your spine a little bit loosened up, stretch you out a little bit, feels great. A little blood rush to the head. I don't know if that does any positivity, but you do definitely get a little blood rush to the head, and it stretches your back out, and these things feel great. So, was anybody on yesterday when Dexter came over? When my buddy Dexter knocked on my garage door in the middle of my live and came to say what's up? But we brought him in and we tried to get him to do the 95-pound curl. Were you guys here and were you able to see that? It's pretty funny. I published that video last night, so you can go back and look at yesterday's live and go to the end of the video and you'll see that 95-pound curl, which is a 45-pound Olympic bar with just two 25s on each side, or just one 25-pound plate on each side. So a 95-pound curl with a straight bar. And it's really difficult to do. If you go look at the video yesterday, Dexter tried to do it. It's pretty funny. Give him credit for trying. It takes some bravery to try to do something that's could be embarrassing or something like that on camera in front of everybody. So I give him credit for it. I don't think he's ever tried that 95-pound curl, but we tried it yesterday. So funny. But, you know, it's kind of quiet in here today. I know we had Andy in here. I can't see exactly who's in here yet, but it's kind of quiet. Why are you guys so quiet? Cat's got your fingers this morning? What do you guys think about that theory? You save $1 million so that you can retire. Most people can't save $1 million, but if you save $1 million and put it to work at 5% return in a safe investment, you're earning 50 grand a year. So a lot of people who retire with $1 million are trying to live off that 50 grand a year, not trying to eat away at their principal and outlive their money as far as they're concerned. So to make $50,000 per year in passive cash flow, how much is that per month? And is it easier for your brain to try to figure out ways to accumulate 3, 4, 5 grand a month in passive cash flow versus try to save $1 million and only be able to retire by the time you're like 65 years old or 70? So retirement's not about age. Retirement's about an amount of monthly passive cash flow, correct? Who in here is definitely not on track to hit their retirement goals? Anybody? Drop a number 1 down in the comments if you are nowhere near hitting your retirement goals. It doesn't matter what age you are, but yeah, there's some people that are like on track to hit their retirement goals and most people are not. So a lot of times if I say, hey, drop a 1 in the comments if you're not on your way to hitting your retirement goals quite yet. I see a lot of number 1s come in, right? So most people are not, and our old systems that we've been taught are a little upside down and backwards. It's not an age you're supposed to get to when you can finally retire. The age has nothing to do with it. But we've been taught retirement age is what? Drop what retirement age is in here. Just by way of logical knowledge and brainwashing and what we've been taught, everybody will have a very similar answer. Yeah, 99% are not. 99% are not on the way to retirement, Barmy. You're right. 99% are not. And I think it's even gotten worse over the years. 99% of people are not on their way to retirement, and they have no idea how they're going to retire. And a lot of people are going to just have to keep working because they're not going to be able to pay their bills. And so 99% are not. Retirement age is what the government decides it is according to the budget.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I think that that's why we've been sold a plan and sold a theory that's just upside down. That's why I was hanging upside down a little bit. It's kind of funny, but that's the theory, guys. Now, whether we believe it or not, I mean, we can get people to combat this point, but it's really it's kind of it is what it is, guys. Our parents and grandparents were sold a certain plan that we've been taught, right, through generations. And the plan is not necessarily the smartest plan for us. Great smart plan for Wall Street, great smart plan for government control, great smart plan for keeping people working 40 hours a week for 40 or 50 years of their lives. That's a great plan for that. But you know that that's not advantageous to us as human beings. That's just a way to keep us busy and under control. So we talked about it. And Barmy says, retirement age is what the government decides it is. Yeah. But when you're out and about and you're discussing this with people, I mean, go talk to anybody and ask them, well, first of all, what's the question people ask about retirement? Not necessarily, I guess people say, when are you going to retire? But they mean what age, right? Hey, so when do you think you're going to be able to retire? I talked to my buddy the other day, Chris, and I said, "Hey, man, are you?" He's an older fella, and I said, "So are you anywhere near retirement?" I was talking to my buddy Chris, and I said, "You got to be towards retirement at some point here, right? Where you can play more golf and just hang out." And he goes, "Ah, man, I'll probably be work. I was hoping to retire next year, but I'll probably be working for another 4 or 5 years at least." Why would he say something like that, right? Wouldn't he want to retire now? I mean, he was bummed. He's like, oh, no, I'm going to have to work probably another 4 or 5 years, right? And that was defeating to him. But I'm looking at how much money is the guy making at his job and how much money is he working for in order to have to work when he doesn't want to, guys. He's older. He's put his energy and time into raising his family and everything like that. And the guy just wants to play golf and relax and enjoy his life now in his older years, but he can't. He can't. Why is that? He doesn't have enough income coming in, aside from the income produced by working. He doesn't have enough income coming in to supplement his bills, so he has to keep working. Can't retire. That sounds like forced to me, guys, right? And he's probably been working, for 40 years of his life already, 40 hours a week, but still doesn't have any financial freedom. So I'm just kind of putting that in your heads, guys, to start thinking about that. Let's start thinking about that. If we're willing to spend time and energy watching all these Netflix episodes, we're willing to spend time and energy doing bogus things that mean nothing, going to concerts and watching the sport games and doing this and doing that, and all being distracted, guys. It's a wild thing to know that we're all willing to just go willy-nilly about life and be totally distracted and go la 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 and just wake up, go to work, go da, da. We're like slaves and cogs in the system, don't you know? We're really robots in the matrix at that point. So you have no time to do anything you like to do. You can't spend time with your own family. You got to be gone all the time. You're very busy. You're stressed out about money constantly. You don't know at what age you're going to be able to retire because nothing is leading you to a point where you're saying, ooh, it's coming up soon. Nothing, because you're just going to work and work and work. I know it is BS. It is BS that we've been taught that plan, right? It is BS, man. So the theory is, how can we start to create, what's up, Matt Av, how you doing? How can we start to create bits of passive cash flow? Not a whole bunch at once, guys. I'm not telling you, hey, go out today and let's do something to create $5,000, $6,000 a month in passive cash flow. That ain't going to happen. But can you go out and can you start to create little chunks of this, little by little by little, that can very quickly, in a short amount of time, add up to something like $5 or $6 grand a month? Absolutely. A recession is when the economy takes a dump. You would talk about real estate markets and stock markets and those things, assets of value dropping in value is usually considered a recession. That would be quite odd, Mark, if I started stripping. This is not exactly that kind of show, but thank you. But yeah, so can you go out? Can you go out, guys, within the next month or two? Everything is going to shit because of this war. I disagree. Yes, I follow Ray Dalio, Kathy Woods, Charlie Munger. All of those people, Matt have, yes. It's sometimes smart to follow the lessons or to put your pennies behind the dollars of billionaires. Usually a pretty smart thing. Yes, I know, Mark. So, GDP growth, but really, the GDP growth or something like that doesn't start to affect the public quite yet, though. Recession, I feel recession is when it starts to affect the general population, which does happen with GDP growth. Yeah, Ray Dalio is very good. Kathy Woods, very good. Yeah, but hey, Barmy, but Kathy Woods is a billionaire, bro, so she's gotten some things right, at least more right than you and me, right? I was saying strip for passive cash flow, not asking you, dude. Oh, okay, thank God. Thank God. I was kind of questioning, man. I was questioning you for a minute there, Matt F. Do I do Bitcoin? Yeah, I have a little bit of Bitcoin. I'm not a heavy investor in Bitcoin because I missed the big pop on Bitcoin. Very disappointing. I was looking at Bitcoin when it was $600 per coin. Do you see how sometimes when we're not mentally ready to take advantage of opportunity, it just passes us right by? It's wild, right? I had the theory of buying some Bitcoin when it was $600 per Bitcoin. I remember me and my buddy Sam were sitting there. I walked into my buddy Sam's office back then, and Sam was reading this book about Bitcoin. And I didn't know much about it then, so I walked in, and my buddy Sam was in his office reading this book, and I go, "What are you reading, man?" He's like, "Oh, I'm reading on this Bitcoin stuff." And I go, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin stuff. I heard about this, like digital currency, right? Yeah, Bitcoin. We were looking at it, and we looked up at that moment in his office. We were looking up how much is a Bitcoin right now. $600 for a Bitcoin is when I first looked at Bitcoin. God, was I stupid not to buy one, right? Oh, hello. And a lot of people could probably say the same thing. Like, damn it. But there are some coins, in my opinion, that are going to do what Bitcoin did as far as rates of return. Yeah, it was brand new and very risky, Barmy. That's why we really didn't do it, right? But hey, but again, it's all it's all mindset, right? Could somebody risk to lose $600 is the question. That was the stupid move, right? So yeah, it was risky and it was kind of unknown and this, but $600, man. Shit. If you would have lost the $600 completely, would you have, not been able to pay for your food or something like that? No, because, I was working back then. I was making an income. So it was like, dude, I should have just bought some. So I don't want to miss the next wave of some of the cryptos that I think are going to do the same thing, that are going to be very important in the new financial system. So I'm not heavily invested in Bitcoin, but I'm more heavily invested in some other assets. Yeah, I know $600 is nothing. That's why back then I should have been smart enough to go, dude, what the hell? Who cares? This speculative stuff, it's called Bitcoin. No one knows much about it. But dude, I should have. Why do you want to see my arms so bad, Mad Have? First I'm being told that I need to strip, and now everybody wants to see the arms. Why? Mad Have. That's the SEP. So not bad. Not bad. Trying to work on the forearms. Forearms really help in golf, but biceps aren't bad. Triceps aren't so bad. They were 2 years ago, though. Let me tell you something, brother. I didn't have any muscles 2 years ago, and I had a gigantic beer belly, and I was all on the bad habits of horrible sleep, bad foods, partying, drinking a shitload of alcohol. I used to love IPAs, you name it. It's like I had the worst habits, and I was starting to really look like a dad bod. It was terrible, man. And my daughter took a picture of me. You know how your kids will play with your cell phone? My daughter was getting a hold of the cell phone, and she was liking to use the camera app. So I'm standing there talking to my wife in the kitchen, and I'm just leaning there. I didn't have a shirt on, and I wasn't paying attention to much. I was talking to my wife. Well, apparently my little daughter was over here messing with my phone. She snapped a picture of me. And later on, I went through that phone and I was looking. I didn't know she took that picture of me. And when I saw a picture of me in my own phone that my daughter took, and I saw a picture of me standing there in my kitchen without my shirt on talking to my wife, I'm like, holy shit, you look like garbage, right? Mark, I love it. Stop talking BS, bro. Hey, Mark, people are wanting to see the biceps and everything. So sorry, bro. I didn't mean to offend you by going down a different path. Oh, shit. What made me get healthy was kind of that. And I'll get to you, Mark. I'll get to you. We'll talk about it, Mark. But what made me get healthy was I was completely over it. I had looked at that photograph of me that my daughter took, and I was disgusted. I was just disgusted with myself. So it didn't have to do with outside people or me comparing myself to other people. Of course, we always, there's always someone more fit, more strong, more buff, more this. So I don't try to compare myself to other people. But for me, I was an athlete and played a lot of sports back in the day. I used to be really fit, really strong, and that was what's the right term? That's how I associated with myself. I mean, I always thought of myself as very strong, very athletic, very fit, good physique, and all that stuff. And what I did was I spent 20 years, guys. I spent 20 years trying to ruin that, is what happened. I spent 20 years doing everything I could possibly do to be bad on my body. From smoking to drinking to staying up late to not getting sleep to not eating the right foods to overeating, not managing my calories, not working out, being lazy. And I had that kind of habit going on. And when I saw that it was not taking me down the right path, Mark, I don't care if I'm losing you, bro. Then sign off. It's all good, man. It's my live. I'm just talking, but we can get to money-making stuff here in just a second if you're a little bit patient. But other people were interested in this, Mark. So yeah, no, I take creatine and protein, and I eat healthy. So I don't do any steroids. I don't do any TRT or anything like that. I get my protein basically from meat. I eat a lot of meat. I get my protein from meat and other sources. Try to get natural protein as much as possible. And it's okay. Be impatient, Mark. You're like my 7-year-old daughter, getting impatient. Need it now. Need it now. Brian Johnson. Yeah, I've seen him for longevity. I think my wife's home, so the garage doors are. Carnivore diet, man, but I can't go straight carnivore. We've tried it. I've tried it. And I've gone several days where I ate nothing but meat, and we've tried the carnivore diet. My father-in-law had great success with the carnivore diet, and I know my wife, Bethany, has had great success with the carnivore diet. So with me, when I was doing straight carnivore, I was doing carnivore, but I have such a sweet tooth that I was eating fruit for my sweet tooth kick. So I was trying to avoid sugars and processed foods, but if I needed something sweet, I would eat like watermelon or cantaloupe or something like that. And in my first 6 months, guys, of when I was eating primarily meat, not all meat, but primarily meat, and then my sweet tooth was being solved with fruit. In the first 6 months, I lost like 15 pounds doing that. And I felt a hell of a lot better. But I don't do primarily carnivore, and I will supplement. So if I don't get enough protein by natural foods throughout the day, then I will supplement with like a protein shake, and I use Naked Protein. Mark, I'm not quite sure where you're going today, buddy, but it's all good. Whatever I'm doing is working. Thank you. Whatever I'm doing is working. Thank you. Yeah, it's a long haul, guys. And let me tell you something. It's just time in, and it's consistency is what I can preach, right? Time in and consistency. If you eat right for a long enough period of time, you're going to have a metabolic change. If you work out like 5 days a week, and it doesn't matter your workout, how intense, if you're lifting weights, running, jumping rope, this, that, and the other, but if you're working out 5 days a week, you need 2 days for body to rest and recover. But if you're working out 5 days a week, you're going to see change after a while. And the way I look at it, guys, by timing, if you want some sort of hope, if you're going to try to get in your best shape ever, is that after 3 months of pure consistency, you're going to notice a change in yourself. After about 6 months in pure consistency, other people will start noticing the change in you. And after about a year, you can become an entirely different person by way of physique, whether you're trying to lose fat or gain muscle or whatever it may be. Mark, for some reason, I have to like go in and I have to bring your messages up because they're getting blocked for some reason, brother. Well, it's wild, Mark, at what sometimes people come in here and say, so I just never know. I don't ever know if people are asking me actually to strip or what. I walk 3 times a day, and I've noticed a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hello. Say hi to the...
I think Mark's a troll.
Say hi to the champ.
Hi, everybody, except for Mark.
No, Mark's all good. Let's see. Yeah, walking 3 times a day. That's good, right? Getting in steps. We're not meant to be so sedentary, you guys. I mean, human beings are not meant to be so sedentary. Can you think about how we evolved now of where we're at as human beings? I was giving this analogy to my buddy Dexter yesterday, which is, we are laying in bed all night horizontal. You're laying down. You sit up and you walk a little bit of a distance, maybe to like the couch, and then you sit down again and you're like eating breakfast or whatever. And then you get up and you walk a very short distance to like your car, and then you sit down again and you drive to wherever you're going to go. And you get up and you go a very short distance, and then you sit down at your desk and you sit down all day long at the desk chair. Then you get up and you go sit back down in your car, and you get up and you come back in, sit back down on the sofa. I mean, you really realize that we've become sedentary as human beings. We're just sitting and laying around. It's not good for our bodies. We're meant to be in action. What would I do with $1 billion, Mark? Well, I would invest it, of course, sir. I'm a professional investor by trade. So if I have $100, I invest it. If I have $1,000, I invest it. 100 grand, I invest it. If I got $1 million, I'd invest it. And if I had $1 billion, certainly I'd invest it. But $1 billion is a shitload of money. At $1 billion, you're at a whole fucking different level, guys. At $1 billion, you're at a whole different level. I've always wanted to buy an island. That would be cool. Just to have an island getaway for you and your family with nobody else on it. It'd be awesome to have an island and build a big compound there. Be cool. What kind of cop-out answer is that? I don't know. Well, what do you want me to tell you? $1 billion, bro? I mean, I could go down a list of 25 things, but then somebody on here is going to be like, why are you talking to Mark about all these items you're going to spend $1 billion on? I want to know about your... You see how it goes, Mark? But $1 billion is a shitload of money. If I had $1 billion, it'd be a different life, guys. You're talking different there. If I had $1 billion, I'd have to have an island, a yacht, a helicopter. I'm not really working out too hard today, Beth. I realized this morning I'm a bit sore from yesterday's workout and also walking the golf course yesterday. So we had a hard workout and walked the golf course yesterday. And yesterday was a rough one, but I'm working out, talking to Mark. That's what I'm doing this morning. I'm chit-chatting with Mark. Work them glutes? Okay. The first thing I would do in the first 5 hours, if I had $1 billion, shit. In the first 5 hours, that's a pretty cool question. Now that's a better question, Mark. What would we do if we got $1 billion? What would you do in the first 5 hours? That's a fun question. I like it. That's a fun question. My handicap is a 6. I am a 6.1 handicap right now, so not good in my opinion, but not bad either. To be a 6 handicap's kind of tough to get to, but I'd like to get to scratch this year. For once in my life, I'm trying to get better at golf. You know that? I have just been playing it recreationally with buddies. In fact, most of the time back in my old days, I was out there drinking more beer than I was worrying about golf. But I'm actually trying to get better at the game this year. And if you guys don't know, golf is like one of the biggest pain in the ass games to get better at. It's so difficult. Where I'm at as a 6 handicap right now is a fairly good level of golf. Nowhere near the pros, but I can hang with most individuals out there on a Sunday. I can beat a lot of people in golf, but I'm not where I want to be, right? So it's always comparing inside your own heart. A lot of people think I'm really exquisitely good at golf. Me, I'm like, nah, I'm not that great. I need to get better, right? What's your best handicap I've ever had? Best handicap score? That's an interesting way to talk about it. A score in one round of golf doesn't depict your handicap. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but my best round of golf I've ever shot now is even par. So I've shot even par. Shooting even par is my best round of golf. And my lowest level of handicap, I think, was like a 4.6 at one time. But I usually kind of go between a 5 and an 8 handicap. It depends. If you guys know golf, sometimes you get into good runs where you feel like you're really good at the game and everything's clicking. And then other times just all of a sudden you feel like you can't do shit. It's a weird game. 4.6, I think, Mark, is the best handicap I've had on record. Oh, 3.7 is good, man. So that's a good golf. That's good golf. I don't know what all that means. Minister, I don't know what all that means, but we don't worry about anything like that on this channel. I don't give a crap what some celebrity did or didn't do. What would you do? I'm still harping on that question real quick, dude. Oh shit, Mark, your best score was when you were 14 years old at 1 under par. God damn. So did you have family members that golfed? Did you have family members that were golfers, like dad or grandpa or something to teach you? Because that is a damn good golfer at 14 years old. Well, that's a damn good golfer at, for anybody. But 14 years old, did you have some sort of, oh, these are just weights. These don't hook up. I'm putting the wrong thing on my ankles here. Did you have a family that got you into golf when you were a little kid or something? Somebody to take you out there, dad or grandpa? So nobody in my family played any golf. So I was the only, I guess, weird one in my family that even got into golf. So dad, grandpa, uncles, no one played golf. I was the only one. Still am the only one in my family that really plays any golf. But damn, dude, that right there is a trip. If you could, excuse me, if you can shoot 1 under par, I don't care if you're 14 years old or what age you are, that is a hell of a good golf match. I have not shot 1 under yet. I sure hope to get there this year, though. It's like it's chasing the dragon. Isn't that crazy? Chasing the dragon. Now that I know I can shoot even par, I want to be able to do that every time I go play golf, and that's just not how golf works, unfortunately. It's a bummer. What'd you say? Oh, crazy thing is that you got a double on a par 5 and still finished 1 under. That's awesome, dude. Oh, your dad played a lot? That's epic. Made a lot of money on the golf course too. Yeah, I'm kind of the guy that I consistently keep taking like 20 or 40 bucks from my buddies when we go play on the weekends. But no, I'm glad you have that kind of experience with golf. I love golf. I think it's like the greatest game ever invented, at least the most frustrating game ever invented, that's for sure. We joke about it. We joke about it all the time. I'm making a joke to say, I don't even play beach volleyball. But as an athlete, if I went to play beach volleyball as an athlete, I'd be fairly okay at it. And if I went back to play beach volleyball the next weekend, I'd be the same. And the next weekend, I'd be the same and actually maybe probably improve a little bit with practicing beach volleyball and so on. Golf, God damn it. It's not that way, One weekend you can go out there and everything clicks and you feel like you're on your way to joining the tour. I mean, you can't do wrong. And literally you can go back the next weekend with the same feeling and the same swing and the same mentality, and you can't even hit the damn golf ball. It's the weirdest sport. It's so mental. Oh, my bad. I see what you're saying. You're not taking money off them in golf, but actually at the golf course making business relationships. I got you. That's funny. Yeah, golf is one of the hardest. I think golf's the hardest sport ever invented, but people can debate me on that. I heard somebody say once that the reason why golf is so difficult is that it's the only sedentary sport. I said, oh, that's interesting. So a sports psychologist was talking about the difference between sedentary and dynamic. And I thought that was kind of a cool thought. So everything else in sports like baseball, volleyball, football, and all that is dynamic. It means that everything's in motion. The people are in motion and the ball's in motion and everybody's reacting to that real time. So that would be dynamic, right? Everything's moving and in motion and that. And golf is the only sport that's sedentary. So it means the ball is just sitting there and you have to react to it. So sports psychologist talking about sedentary versus dynamic was an interesting thing anyways, interesting theory. Let's see. That's pretty funny, John. Yeah, Kim Jong-un gets a hole-in-one on every hole. That's so funny. I think they've done skits about that I crack up about. They've done skits about that where the real rich billionaire guy is out there golfing who really sucks, but they're trying to say he's getting pars and birdies out there cheating for him and stuff like that. Pretty funny. And it's funny if you guys, on that subject, if you look at golf, okay, golf is a game of foundation and structure. So a lot of times the foundation of a good golf swing is balance and the proper grip. And these kinds of things that are the basic foundations of a good golf swing that you start with, right? Which is your lineup and your grip and your posture and your balance. Foundation of a good golf swing. Well, let me tell you guys something. Back to the subject matter. Passive cash flow is the foundation for retirement. And as hard as it is, guys, to become a scratch golfer, it's equally as difficult for most people to think that they're going to save up $1 million or $2 million between now and the time they're 65, whatever age you're at. Right? So, foundation of golf swing needs to be there for you to actually hit the ball, right? And the foundation of retirement is not age; it's an amount of monthly passive cash flow. So, what can you guys do, right? Some people, hey, maybe somebody could create cash flow by hustling the driving range or hustling the golf course, right? Go Happy Gilmore style. But in essence, what could we do? What can you guys think of that would allow you, whether it be an investment, a business, something? What can you come up with that would start to bring you guys a little bit of passive cash flow? Just buy bonds and bongs. Buy bongs, maybe. I don't know about bonds. I have better investments than bongs, but bongs can be useful. What could you guys do? Can you guys think of anything that you guys could do to create a little bit of passive cash flow? If it's $100 a month or $200 a month or $300 a month or whatever it is, if that money is coming in monthly without you having to do the work for it again, that's passive cash flow. That's a pretty good question, Dak Dog. So Dak Dog's asking, what percentage of my income comes from note investing versus education and courses? Well, let's put it this way. I didn't bring any new students into the course last month. So last month, the course or my community made zero money because we were concentrating on the existing students and prepping for this real estate conference that we're hosting with seven speakers and things like that. No, robbing banks wouldn't do it because if you get caught, now you go to prison and your life's over and forget about it, right? So we don't want to do something like that. That ruins our retirement. Unless you feel like a good retirement would be in prison where they feed you and you get to come out every now and again and, lift some weights or whatever. If that looks like a good retirement, then yeah, go try to rob banks. If you get away with it, maybe you can be rich and retire. If you don't get away with it, maybe your retirement can be in a nice place where they feed you and house you. And I accept 20 new students per month, Dak Dog, into the community. We don't want to outgrow our ability to pay attention to everybody and give people the proper resources that they need and stuff like that. But maximum, and I don't do 20 a month. But a maximum is I would allow 20 people per month into the program at max. But we don't want to get so big that we can't pay attention to everybody. Yep, find a 7% yield investment grade bond beats a simple cash deposit. True, but 7% is trash returns when you know what you're doing. 7%. I would never put my money to work at 7%. Never. I can double that pretty simply. Okay, so I would never put my money to work at 7%, and then a bond doesn't pay cash flow. Oh, yeah, that's a bummer, Andy, huh? Your pops lost over $150,000 in the stock market last year. Yep, and he's 85. That's a bummer. Yes, notes would help any of these people. You guys, you understand that we've all been taught a certain system that is designed really not to make us wealthy and free, but we've been taught a certain system that makes Wall Street more wealthy. Yeah, exactly, Bethany. So, just for instance, right? We run, I shouldn't say we run an investment fund called Everly May, named after my daughter. My daughter's name is Everly May, and my investment fund is named Everly May. We're a family fund, and we invest in alternative assets, real estate related. And so when people invest into my fund, they're making more than 7%. Hey, Mark, that's a good thing. He said, okay, at 14%, is garbage. You're saying, Mark, that my ability to make 14% annualized yield on my money is garbage? You tell me you can make $140 million a year with $1 billion invested. Absolutely. Absolutely. No problem. Yep. Matter of fact, I'm buying assets right now that are about I get them at a 16.1% annualized yield. That's about my highest yield right now on fresh assets that I'm buying. How does Hammerhead Pelosi outperform Warren Buffett every year? Well, we know why. We won't get into that. We won't get into politics. But, understand this too, guys. The Warren Buffett style of investing is pretty solid, right? So if you study Warren Buffett, Charlie Wood, Kathy Munger, Kathy Wood, Charlie Munger, Ray Dalio. These are a lot of people that at least are good to follow for, education. I can get some. I can buy notes right now from a team of individuals that I know very well. We went to the Masters golf tournament in Augusta together. It's a father-son team, and they're producing assets right now. And when I buy them, I'm getting a 16.1% yield. I'm getting a 16.1% yield without any headaches of being a landlord's passive cash flow. So, yeah, listen, when you're in the game and you can get these kinds of returns, some folks in here, maybe Mark, would be like, no, that's bullshit. Well, you just don't know what we do. That's all. You don't know what we do. And in fact, I was talking to some really savvy investors recently that they're very savvy, wealthy investors and have no idea what it is that we do, that I do. Are those your top performers? Well, Dak Dog, I'm talking about a performing mortgage note, right? That you're buying for cash flow. So that's a damn good yield, right? And no risk, Mark. That's the thing. I shouldn't say no risk. There's always risk in investing, period, all the time. There's always risk. But I buy mortgages. Mark, my money is collateralized by real property. So my investments are collateralized by real property. So when you buy a mortgage note, so you understand, Mark, what we do, we buy mortgages. Okay, we buy mortgages at a discount on the secondary mortgage market. And the fact that my friend refurbishes and remodels mobile homes in Maricopa County in Arizona, and it's not a house, so that you don't have the same interest rates or usury rates, right? It's automotives by way of title. And so they're selling these refurbished mobile homes in Arizona, and they write these mortgage notes for the mobile homes in Arizona at 15% face rate. So the 15% interest rate that's being paid by the borrower. And then I buy those notes at a discount. So I have less money deployed than the unpaid balance, which brings my yield up to about 16.1% on those deals. And all the while, I'm collecting cash flow by way of mortgage payment, and I have the brand new remodeled mobile home as my collateral. You would say the ones I'm talking about, Mark, that I can get at about 16.1% yield are, B+ grade paper, if you wanted to rate them like that. We say B+ because they are freshly underwritten and Dodd-Frank compliant, where the borrowers have gone through full underwriting and full underwriting twice. They have to go through underwriting to qualify for the mobile home payment, and they have to go through underwriting by the mobile home park to be able to afford the park rent. And both mobile home payment and park rent together are the numbers that they get qualified for affordability. So we've got fully underwritten Dodd-Frank compliant buyers, a brand newly remodeled collateral, and I'm collecting passive cash flow Oh, okay. Why you come out here weird with a note and stuff? Why don't you just come out? So weird, dude. Sorry, my wife came out. My wife came out here and said Dak Dog asked something in the chat, but I'm trying to find it here. Dak Dog, did you ask at some point how much it is for my community or how much it is to learn this stuff? Oh, there you go. Okay. Sorry, guys. I got backed up in these questions. I'm just run through them real quick. Dak Dog, you said roughly how large is your personal note portfolio today? Well, we have $17.8 million worth of them. And we actually just like sold 5 notes recently, so that could be down a little bit, but we own about $17 million worth of notes. No, it's not about ninja loans. Ninja loans were about qualifying people to be borrowers on mortgages where they didn't qualify them. They didn't do proper Dodd-Frank underwriting. The ninja loans were no income verification. You didn't have to tell them how much you made. You didn't have to tell them pretty much anything. They were just giving loans to people. Now, that was very fraudulent by the mortgage industry, the mortgage market. Very fraudulent. Mortgage industry got very greedy and ruined everything for a lot of people. Wiped a lot of people out. So, yeah, Dak Dog. Sorry, my wife came out and told me. My wife came out of the garage door and held up a little piece of paper. And the little piece of paper said, it was written down. It said, Dak Dog asked how much is our program. Our program's $2,900. You know what I mean? We're not, and somebody asked earlier, am I making more of my income from coaching people and selling programs or anything like that than I am with my actual investing? Not even close. Not even close. I don't really harp on selling coaching much. I don't advertise it out there. I'm not the guy who's, pulling up my fancy Rolls Royce car and being like, you got to join my program. I don't do that, guys. What is the startup capital required for all this nonsense? Well, first, if you could explain somehow how anything I've spoken about thus far seems like nonsense, we can start there. But certainly not nonsense. In fact, one of the smartest investment vehicles I've ever seen in 25 years of entrepreneurial endeavors and investing. Mortgage note investing is simply one of the best investment vehicles I've seen, period. Yeah, of course. It's not nonsense, man. That's why I come here live. Like, so Mark, if you're new to my channel or whatever, I come here because I try to help people, really. Yeah, I'm trying to spread some positivity and help people. Never getting negative or trying to talk bullshit here. I'm never telling people on my live they should go and buy my program and join my program and I'm going to make them. No, guys, it's not like that. We don't. If I was going to make all my money off selling programs, guys, I'd be selling my program for $20,000. Yeah, I'd be selling my program for 20 grand if I was going to make millions of dollars off coaching people. Yeah. But I sell my program for $2,900 and I work with you for a whole year minimum. See what I'm saying? So certainly well worth it. We over deliver for the cost of our program. There's no doubt. But here's the point. We teach people when you are acquiring paper assets, you guys, okay? First of all, you don't need your own money. If you have the skills and the knowledge, you can leverage other people's money to scale your portfolio. So you don't need to have a bunch of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to go out there and use all your own money to do this. That's not how it's done, guys. People that scale rental property portfolios, they use other people's money. They leverage bank money. They leverage other people's money to be able to do it. When people are going to do a syndication, they're going to go buy an apartment building for value add. They're not going to go write a check out of their checking account to buy an apartment building. They're going to use other people's money to accumulate a whole bunch of mortgage notes that could set you financially free. You're going to be able to buy all of those, not with your own money, but you're going to have to use other people's money. So what we find out, the reoccurring theme all the time, is that people don't realize when you're going to scale in these businesses, you've got to get one good skill down for sure. That one good skill is learning how to present your opportunities to other human beings and get financial support from other people. A lot of us don't have enough of our own money to go and scribe a check to buy an apartment building, but you can get the education and the expertise to go and be the deal maker to buy the apartment building, and you can leverage other people's money to do so. Let's see, Dak Dog. In the situation where a borrower defaults on the lot rent but not the loan, what typically happens to the collateral, and how does the note holder protect their position? Good question, Dak Dog. So the parks over there on these mobile home notes, guys, the parks are more vicious than we are as the lenders on the mobile home. The parks are vicious. So if somebody misses their park rent, the park will evict them. So you know. They could be making their payment on their mobile home, but they're not paying their park rent. The park will evict them out of there. And since these mobile homes are stationary, they're usually on foundation and got, beautiful 50-year-old palm trees all around them and so on. They're not moving these mobile homes. You're not going to move them out of the park. So they're permanent there. And no, the ones that I'm earning 16.1% yield on are on the mobile homes. That's just one source or one type of note that I buy right now. But no, we buy most of our notes on single family homes. But yeah, the ones with these high yields like this that are freshly Dodd-Frank underwritten and have great qualified borrowers in there, freshly remodeled. And when I'm talking about a mobile home, guys, let's just make this clear. Maricopa County, the retirement capital of the world, the snow bunnies and everybody in Arizona riding around Phoenix and Scottsdale, that's where these mobile home parks are. And so we're talking about mobile homes that, are better than my $1.5 million house I live in. But better. Like when you walk into these mobile homes, these guys have put granite countertops and drip edge and black backsplash and jacuzzi tubs. And I mean, God damn it, they are beautiful inside. Really well done. And so we have a freshly remodeled permanent mobile home in a park in Maricopa County in Arizona, the mobile home capital of the world. No, they write the mobile home notes at 15%. So the people that buy those mobile homes in Arizona through seller financing, okay, they're paying 15% face rate. 15% face rate. I buy the debt at a discount. So I always buy the debt at a discount, which ups your yield or your return higher than what the face interest rate is. So if they're paying 15% interest and I buy that debt at a discount, which I do, it ups my yield to about 16.1%. And so for automobile title or the mobile home title, then 15% is really not out of line. Of course, you would never, have a 15% interest rate on a normal house mortgage. I've seen right now in the Midwest and Southeast, there are interest rates on regular homes in the Midwest and Southeast where people are paying 9 and 10% interest on their mortgage loan. Yeah, exactly, John. Once you're inside of them, right, you can't tell it's a mobile home. That's for sure. We're talking like double and triple wides here, 1,650 square feet, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, big living room, open space, granite countertops. I mean, these things are nicer than most people's houses, to be honest. Let's see. Oh, no, Dak Dog said, oh, that makes sense. I was afraid the park might trash the mobile home. The last thing the park wants is a trashed mobile home sitting empty in their park, not producing park rent. The number one thing the park wants is a nice mobile home there with someone living in it that's paying them park rent, for sure. So if you're helpful in that aspect, right? If you're the person that goes into the park and says, hey, look, here's my business. Whenever you guys get somebody that moves out or gets evicted or something like that, and you have a really dilapidated mobile home here, my job is I come into your park and I fix that mobile home up to be the nicest one in your park. And then we find a new buyer for it. We sell it to them. We carry back the paper. We underwrite them. We make sure that they're good buyers. And then you have now a new person paying your park rent. So the people that own these mobile home parks are ecstatic when like my team of guys in Arizona comes in to help them with this stuff. If someone is investing 25 or 50, I would expect, I would expect bags, not tens of percents, Bethany. I don't know what you mean by that, Mark. Mark, are you saying if you invested $25,000 into something, you'd expect bags, not 10%? I'm not sure what you're saying, Mark. But a lot of times, unsophisticated investors chase high returns and get wiped out. So many unsophisticated investors chase high returns, chase shiny objects. I've had a lot of people that got wiped out in oil and gas deals. I got a lot of people that have been wiped out. This is just recently, guys. I've been talking to investors recently. People have been wiped out in oil and gas deals. People have been wiped out in the stock market. We just saw Andy's father last year lost $150,000 in the stock market. People have been getting wiped out in a lot of different places. So if one puts their money to work at 10% interest per year, okay, and let's say they're able to earn that 10% interest per year for 25 years on that money with passive cash flow, okay? It's the passive cash flow that the 25 grand creates. That's the power position. So you want to stack your bags, but you want to protect your principal. Okay. So like I do, Mark, I invest in cryptocurrencies with house money. So I put my money into a note deal. Like you said, put your $25,000 into a note deal that earns you 10%. Okay. It's not shiny object. You're not like, woo, I'm going to get rich and buy a Lambo soon. Not that. Not that. Okay. So what you could do with the monthly cash flow that's coming in from the $25,000 investment at 10%. What can you do with the monthly cash flow coming in? Well, you can DCA that, right? So what I do is I take cash flow from notes and I invest the cash flow from my notes into cryptocurrency and things that have higher risk. So I don't lose. If my cryptocurrency portfolio went to zero, I'd be frustrated, but I wouldn't have lost any of my principal. I've been investing in cryptocurrency since 2021 using house money. No, Dak Dog, of course, it's papered up. We're a true lender. It's like, does Wells Fargo, Dak Dog is asking, okay, guys, when you work with these parks, do you have a formal agreement in place that protects the note holder's rights if a borrower defaults, or is the relationship mostly informal? No, guys, there's two separate things here. One thing is the mobile home that the person is buying. And when they buy the mobile home, it is seller financed. The people that sell the mobile home carry back the paper and become the bank. Then I go to them and I buy their notes and they transfer that debt to me, and now I am the bank. So the park rent is different. And then what they're paying us is their payment on their actual mobile home. Yeah, sometimes more. Fair question, Dak Dog. At 16%, where is the risk of that yield coming from? So, Mark, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. That's why I went full-time starting in 2018. I went full-time into note investing. You guys are starting to realize why. When I first heard about note investing, I tried to poke holes in it because I thought, wait a minute, there's a catch here. There must be a catch here. This is too good to be true. And a lot of people feel that way, and I don't blame you because I felt the same damn way. So, Mark, Dak Dog, here's the risk, okay? All right, so here's the reality, okay? If they sell the mobile home, I'm going to give you guys these numbers, and I know when you're just listening and we don't have notes or calculator, right? But you'll stick with me. I'm going to give you these numbers, and you tell me what you think, okay? For Mark and Dak Dog, you guys. Tell me what you think. So they sell the mobile home. Once it's refurbished and it's all dope, they sell the mobile home for $135,000. That's how much the mobile home sells for. So they sell the mobile home for $135,000. They take a dude at note investing, unless you have $500,000. Mark, you don't know what you're talking about, buddy. Just listen up a minute, okay? You have no clue what you're talking about. So I like your vigor and your energy, but when you don't know what you're talking about, you got to sometimes just listen and learn a little bit, okay? So let me run these numbers down for you so that you guys understand it, and you guys tell me. You guys tell me what you think, okay? I'm going to run these numbers down so that you guys can really absorb this, and I want you to understand it so that you can tell me what you think. I thought when I heard about this at first, it was too good to be true. So let me be fair. When I heard about this at first, I said, it's too good to be true. That's too good to be true. Doesn't make much sense. That's how I felt at first, guys, okay? So I don't blame you if you feel that way. So they sell the mobile home to a new buyer at $135,000, and they take a $10,000 deposit. So they sell the home for $135,000. They take a $10,000 deposit. They have $125,000 there that they finance. So they carry back the paper at $125,000 loan balance. The property's worth $135,000. They owe $125,000, and I buy that loan for $112,000. So the property's worth $135,000, freshly remodeled, brand new, first person living in it, since it's been brand new, freshly remodeled, valued at $135,000. The people living in there owe $125,000, and I buy that $125,000 worth of debt for $112,000. Okay? So there's three things that can happen, guys. They can either pay as they're supposed to, and these are on 20-year terms. So if they pay me like they're supposed to, for 20 years in a row, I'm going to make 16.1% return on my money with monthly passive cash flow coming in every month that is compoundable, that I can invest into other things or use to live my lifestyle with, right? Okay? So you can have that one option where they pay as agreed. We would all be okay with collecting, $1,687 per month of passive cash flow for the next 20 years without any landlord headaches, and being able to DCA some of that in there, pay for a car payment, get your nicer car you've always wanted, start stacking your bags in crypto, whatever it may be, right? But I've protected my principal. When I invest into that note at $112,000, not only am I protected because the people living there owe $125,000, but also the property that's acting as my collateral. Remember, I'm invested for $112,000. The property just sold for $135,000. That's my protection. That's my collateral. So they could pay as agreed, and that sounds good, right? They could pay their mortgage off early. Maybe they decide to sell and move, or maybe they refinance with a different lender, or maybe who knows what. They come into an inheritance and they just pay their mortgage off. When they pay their mortgage off, guys, it ups my yield. Don't you realize? Because I bought that debt for $112,000. They owe me $125,000. So as they're making payments, I'm collecting passive cash flow. If they decide to pay their mortgage off early, that's when I collect the discount. I'm not only getting my money back, but I'm getting my money back plus the discount. I'm collecting extra profit. Now I just have to redeploy my money again. That's the only problem I have, is I have to redeploy my money into a new asset again. The other third thing that can happen with someone's mortgage is they stop paying it. I'm in for $112,000. The place is worth $135,000. So if they stop paying me, guys, I take back the $135,000 freshly remodeled mobile home, and now I own it outright with no debt, because I was the debt, remember? So now what do I do with the mobile home? I can sell or finance it again to a new buyer and put myself in the same position, have the mobile home as my collateral, put paper in place, and have a borrower living there paying me monthly. This is the game. Banks don't flip houses. Banks don't own a big portfolio of rental properties. But banks are pretty good at making money, but banks own a shitload of paper, don't they? Banks love having no ownership liability, full control and collateral, with good interest and profit on their money, and the ability to take back collateral if things go haywire. That's how banks operate, guys. Banks aren't in the business of risking and losing and all this stuff, or having to deal with, 1 million tenants at their million rental properties that they own. No, hell no. Yeah, Mark, good luck with my strategy. Well, we've been doing it full time since 2018. Luck doesn't really have much to do with it. It just certainly has to do with actually getting the education and putting this shit to work in the marketplace. Yeah, there's lots of great benefits to it. So my question is this, guys. Could you borrow money from a private lender at 8%? Is there anybody out here in the world that would like a secure, collateralized investment where they're safe, they can sleep at night, it's not volatile with the stock market, and they make 8% contractual returns year over year over year? Is that a good investment for a private lender? Would you find a private lender out in the world that would loan you $112,000 if they were making 8% return on their money safely? Do you think you could find somebody? Question. Is there anybody out here in the world that perhaps would be a private lender to your real estate investment business? Do you think there's any human beings on the planet that would be okay investing their money with you in a very secure, collateralized investment, not volatile,
comes with monthly cash flow, and they're making 8% per year contractually. Do you think there's anybody out there that would like that investment? Dak Dog, good question. In my portfolio, what percentage of these notes actually go the full 20-year term without default or resale? Very few. Very few. And mind you, I have been in this note space full time since 2018. So, of course, I haven't been in the game 20 years to find out how many of them will pay off. But I do know by mathematics and percentages, right? It's very unlikely that an individual or a family will stay living in the same house, paying on the same loan, being a good little borrower, and paying their mortgage payment on time every month for the next 20 or 30 years. It's usually more rare that happens. So generally, what we're going to end up getting is a sale of the home because people move, right? So I had a payoff, guys. I had a payoff happen recently. I invested $37,000 into a non-performing note in Michigan. I collected 39 payments of $948 per month and then got paid off $93,000 because they sold their house and moved. So let me run that to you again. I invested $37,000. I collected 39 monthly mortgage payments of $948 per month. Do the math. Then they decided to sell their house in Michigan and move to Florida. Kind of cliche, but true story. They're retiring and the husband and wife want to move to Florida. So they sold their house in Michigan. Well, when they sell their house, I get whatever is owed to me as total payoff balance. What's that? HBJ, what's up, man? So just think about that. I invested 37 grand. So you guys were talking about 10%, not so much. Guys, I don't have time to educate you on the whole note investing space, but I bought a non-performing note for $37,000 and change. I collected 39 monthly payments because I got it back to performing again with a loan modification. So I did a loan modification for the borrowers in which they could afford and they started paying me. I bought it for 37 grand. I collected 39 monthly payments of $948 per month. Then they sold the house and moved to Florida. They owed me $93,400 at that time. So that was what they had to pay me off with when they sold the house. They owed their first lien lender their payoff balance of their loan. So that right there, right, will actually get the heart beat up a little bit. Maybe you're thinking, ooh, maybe this guy, hey, he's onto something here. Yeah, guys, so it's not all just buy performing notes for cash flow. That's one play in this space, okay? But you can buy non-performing notes that are already in delinquency if you have the skill set to do the workout with the borrower or you want the time, the energy, and the money to go through the foreclosure action, whatever it may be. But there's non-performing notes for sale where you can make a shitload of money, guys. I was just talking about buying performing notes for passive monthly cash flow. I didn't talk about non-performing notes, guys, where the deals are hairy. They got issues. And whatever lender owns that paper would rather just sell it and get the cash and let somebody else deal with the bullshit. They don't want to go through the foreclosure. They don't want to go through the eviction. They don't want to do all this shit. I don't know. I think the average right now, Dak Dog, maybe in the United States, I think is like 9 years. I think if that's like the national average in the United States. So if you look, they're talking about national averages in the United States. How long does one person or one family stay in a certain house, live in a certain area? 9 years is usually the average. But I think that's getting, I think that over the past couple of years, that's being extended, right? Because people, when the interest rates rose really significantly, property values in some places are kind of dropping a little bit after the big rush after COVID, when a lot of areas like Dallas, Texas, and Miami, Florida, and all these big areas had way too much expansion real quickly, and all the property values went up astronomically, and now they're having their cool-off period, right? So, it's very rare that somebody will stay in the house 20, 30 years without selling, without moving, without refinancing with a new lender and none of that. So that's kind of rare. More so people will either sell the house or sometimes stop paying. But, people usually pay their mortgage payments, guys. So, we have like on average, about a 4 to 6% default rate in our portfolio. There's 4 to 6% of the loans are having problems. They're behind, they're not paying, they're getting into delinquency. Dak was close to my question. How long do banks typically hold on to these notes before they sell them off? Have you guys ever bought a house? Let me ask you that. Who in here right now has ever bought a home? Who's been a homeowner in here? Drop a number 1 in the comments real quick if you've owned a house before.
I'm just curious to see who, because you'll probably know from firsthand experience the story which I will tell you now. But who in here, guys? Just drop a 1 in the comments. Okay, Rod, you've owned a house. Okay, good. Anybody else owned something, owned a property? Anybody else bought a house? Rod, you've owned a house before. You've been a homeowner. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, cool. Well, anybody else in here who's been a homeowner, maybe you haven't, but if you are going to be a homeowner, you're probably going to feel, or you're probably going to experience what I'm about to tell you. Many mortgage loans, y'all, Dak Dog owned a home. Okay, good. Many mortgage loans are sold very quickly. Very quickly. Just short after origination. A lot of them are. But let me ask you guys a question for Rod and for Dak Dog, right? Okay. For Rod and Dak Dog, listen. If you've been a homeowner, right? And I'm just assuming, guys, and forgive me for assuming, I'm just assuming you didn't buy your house all cash. I'm assuming most of us, right? 98% of the population is going to go out and buy a house, doesn't have the cash to buy the house, and so they get what's called a mortgage loan, right? So, Rod, did you have a mortgage loan on your house? Dak Dog, did you have a mortgage loan on your house? Did you go to some bank and get a loan in order to buy your house? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So, did you ever get a transfer letter? You ever get a transfer letter? Now, what that means, guys, is that when you go and you buy your house and you go get a mortgage loan, okay, then you owe your mortgage to some bank. I mean, let's just use, for example, because it's easy to understand, let's just use Chase Bank, for example, okay? Let's say I walk into Chase Bank and I say, hey, Chase Bank, I want to buy this house. I need a mortgage loan. They go through all the intricacies of qualifying me and so forth, and then they say, okay, you qualify, we'll give you the mortgage loan. So they give you the mortgage loan, and now you owe money to Wells Fargo. So here you are, you're living in your house, you finally moved in, you got your new house, and everything's awesome and everything's cool, and you're paying your mortgage payment every month to Wells Fargo Bank, because that's who holds your mortgage, right? Your mortgage loan. So you're paying your mortgage payment every month to Wells Fargo Bank. Now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get a letter in the mail to your house. You open up the envelope, and there's a letter that says, hey, this is Chase Bank. You remember we own your mortgage? Well, guess what? We don't own your mortgage anymore. We've actually transferred your mortgage over to Bank of America. So just letting you know, we don't own your mortgage no more, so don't pay your mortgage payment to Chase Bank anymore, okay? That's called a goodbye letter. That's your original lender saying, goodbye, we're not your lender anymore. We've transferred your mortgage over to a different bank. Now, the transfer language means they sold your mortgage. They didn't just transfer it. They sold it. So Wells Fargo Bank, is that what we were talking? No, Chase Bank, excuse me. Chase Bank sold a pool of loans. So Chase Bank compiled a pool of mortgage loans that they decided they were going to sell. They took that pool of mortgage loans and they put it out to their buyers, maybe Bank of America, and Bank of America made a bid to buy those notes. So they sold those mortgages. They weren't just transferred, but transfer is the language, okay? So you get a transfer letter in the mail that says, hey, we're not your mortgager anymore, so don't pay us no more, okay? Then you're going to get another letter from Bank of America that says, hey, we're your new mortgager. So Chase Bank transferred your mortgage over to us, Bank of America. So just want to let you know, here's all the information and how you send your payment in from now on. So now you're going to start paying your mortgage payment every month to Bank of America, not Chase Bank no more. Do you guys understand how that goes? That is the secondary mortgage market. It's been going on forever, for years. Okay, but usually an institutional game. Usually Bank of America and Chase are trading these pools of loans at high levels, $500 million worth, these kind of things, okay? $200 million worth of loans in one fell purchase, one swoop, right? So, Roddy, I don't have time to go over the 100 different reasons why these notes are sold, because there's 100 different reasons why they're sold. But in your case, and in what Bethany was saying, Rod, is that banks are very good at cash flow. They're called banks for shit's sakes. What do you think river banks do? River banks control the flow of water. Banks control the flow of cash flow, water flow. Okay. So banks are good at movement of money. Banks are good at movement of money, which we should get good at as well. But they, oftentimes sell for tons of different reasons. There's just a bunch of different reasons. The point is this. The point is this, Rod, I guess. Here's the major point. They do sell them
for 100 different reasons. Private sellers, banks, credit unions, real estate investors, there's all sorts of people that are in this paper game, right? Not just banks. Like I don't go to Wells Fargo much. I don't go to Bank of America or Chase Bank much to buy notes because I don't have enough money to move their needle. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to sell you one loan. Wells Fargo Bank ain't going to sell a note investor like me one loan. Ain't going to happen. They'll want to sell me a pool of $50 million worth. And if I can come to the table with $50 million, then I can talk to the people over there at Chase Bank or Wells Fargo about buying notes from them. But that's not who I buy from. But there is a reason why notes are sold. And banks typically are into the movement of money, into flowing their capital. So rather than, think of this. The secondary mortgage market was created originally because banks were running out of monies to loan. So let me just make that clear. The secondary mortgage market back in the 30s or 40s, don't misquote my timing here, but back in the 30s or 40s, secondary mortgage market was created by Fannie Mae. And what was happening is banks were loaning all this money out at 30-year terms, right? Is when the 30-year mortgage came about. So here's banks now. Banks are loaning their money to people on 30-year terms. So now their money's locked up for 30 years. And the interest rates weren't much to speak of. People are paying 4%, 5%, 6% on their, interest of their mortgage. So here's the bank. The bank has that money locked up for 30 years and they are, where are you going?
We're going to school.
Oh, you're taking her to school. Okay. So the bank has their monies locked up for 30 years and they're collecting that monthly passive cash flow. Okay. But banks are good at moving money. So do I keep that money locked over there at 6%? And it's producing this bit of monthly cash flow? Or do I sell that note, collect a big lump sum of capital, and go put that lump sum of capital to work at higher interest than that? Yeah, it's not necessarily that, Rod, but Roddy said, is it in the interest of the banks to grant loans, collect on the payments for a short term, and then sell them off before they have the potential to turn bad? Not really, Roddy, because we don't have any clue. There's no crystal ball of what person or what family is going to run into financial problems after they've been fully underwritten, they've been fully qualified, they can afford the payment, they've been underwritten to be able to afford the loan. Then they give them the loan. Well, of course, that's fair. Now, we can never tell when an individual or a family at some point in life, we don't know if it's a year into them owning their mortgage, 5 years into them owning their mortgage. We don't know whether it happens to be death, divorce, or what have you that could get somebody to start becoming delinquent on their mortgage. There is no crystal ball there. Walter, hey, no problem, Walter. I appreciate your kind words. We're about physical and financial fitness here, right? I'm not doing much physical fitness today. Kind of taking a little bit of break. My body was kind of beat up. We did a hell of a workout yesterday, and then I walked the golf course yesterday evening. So yesterday was a good day on my body, and I'm just giving it a break this morning. And my wife wants me to work my glutes, but I just didn't feel like moving today. Sometimes you got to listen to your body, guys. And sometimes your body needs a break, and we're going to get right back at it tomorrow, but I needed a little break. Oh, Luna, that's awesome. You always learn something listening to me. Sorry you didn't say much today. You like to listen. That's all good, man. I know some people are going to be, some people are just going to want to listen, and that's awesome, dude. I love anybody that wants to listen that's getting any type of good value from anything I'm saying, right? It's obviously I'm not coming out here live and doing all this every day, which is a pain in the ass for me. If it was for me, I'd be studying right now or doing something with my business or actually getting a workout in, whatever. If it was for me, this is for you guys. So any kind words like that, guys, if you're getting nuggets or if I'm helping you out in life at all by enjoying my show, then that's fantastic. I appreciate that. And like Bethany said, they have the potential to turn bad at day one. Okay. So fair enough. You don't know what's going to happen in the timing of someone's lives. Everything could be going good in someone's life. And they go get qualified and they buy a house, they get their mortgage and everything's going good in their life. And they move in and then something all of a sudden happens to their life. You don't know. So there's no crystal ball. That's why it's a beautiful thing to be protected by numbers. So if your collateral is worth a hell of a lot more than you invested, you're protected, meaning I don't really care. I mean, I care for people. I care for people and their families. I don't ever want to see anybody go delinquent on a mortgage. I don't ever want to have to foreclose on anybody.
is the thing I don't like to do in this business, okay? But we have the legal right to do so. And it's up to somebody and their choice to not be foreclosed upon, okay? And yeah, like I said, Luna, I do appreciate that. Government is the biggest buyer of mortgages. Maybe so. I haven't heard much of that. Hey, you guys, you know who's really into the mobile home space? Heavy? Warren Buffett. So I had some people on here talking about these mobile home notes I buy. Who's big in mobile homes and mobile home parks and that? Warren Buffett. Do you guys think that mobile home parks are going to be increasing in demand or decreasing in demand? What do you guys think? Put increase or decrease, or drop a 1 for increase or a 2 for decrease. 1 for increase, 2 for decrease. Do you think that mobile home parks in good areas are going to, over the next 10 years, grow and have more demand for people that want to live in these awesome mobile home parks, or less demand in the next 5 or 10 years? What do you think? One, there is going to be more demand, guys, because it's called affordable housing. So for instance, let me give you guys a quick idea and then we'll sign off. I know we have other better stuff to do. Mortal Kombat. Damn, that's an old ass game. That brings me back to my junior high days, man. Mortal Kombat. Holy cow. So guys, they're going to have an ever increasing demand, mobile home parks, okay? And here's just an idea to give you guys an idea of why, okay? So right now, out in Arizona, in the surrounding counties we're talking about, which is like Scottsdale and Phoenix area in Arizona and that, okay? The median house price out there is $500,000, okay? Median house price is $500,000. People are going to go get a 30-year mortgage loan on a $500,000 house. Include that with your property taxes, your house maintenance, and so on. You understand the affordability level out there. It's going to cost somebody $4,000 or $5,000 a month easily to not live in an apartment with, neighbors on each side of you and having to deal with an apartment living, right? So out there, like in Maricopa County, someone can be an owner, not have people on each side of them in an apartment building, be an owner of their own place, have their own privacy, have, 15, 16, 17, 1,800 square feet, freshly remodeled, much nicer than most any apartment out there around Scottsdale and Phoenix. We're talking granite countertops, jacuzzi tubs, tile floors, beautiful, gorgeous, right? They do these things well. So you could either pay $2,500 or $3,000 per month, which is about $2,500 out there right now, guys, for a good, 1,500 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment out there in like Scottsdale, right? So these people end up paying the same amount of money per month as if they were living in an apartment building, but they have their own place. This is going to become more and more. The printing machine turns on next 2.5 years. Inflation rises. Cost of assets like real estate go up more. Hopefully interest rates come down, which will incentivize people to buy more real estate. But the idea is, guys, if out there in like Arizona, you could live in an apartment, have no ownership, no privacy, and have neighbors on all walls around you and all that. You could live in an apartment and pay $3,000 a month. Live in an apartment. Or you could buy one of these freshly remodeled mobile homes, have your privacy, have your own space in the park, your own parking spot, your own this, your own that, and feel as if you're a homeowner, so to speak. Beautiful parks, by the way. These aren't like run down mobile home parks, guys. These are nice parks. And you're an owner now for the same type of money. You're an owner with privacy of your own place, freshly remodeled, brand new home. You're living there, it's yours, versus the same amount of money costs you per month to live in a little apartment right down the street. So, you see? So the affordable housing is going to become more and more popular over the next, 10 years. So it's all good. What's the average household income out there? In Arizona, I'm not sure. I live out here in San Diego. I don't know the average income out there. $100,000 maybe? $80,000, $100,000, I think. I'm not sure. You'd have to look that up. Let's see. Dak Dog, what percentage of your portfolio returns come from performing loans versus repossessions and resales? Well, let's just put it this way. A lot of our windfall profits and a lot of our capital gains come from repossessions and resales and things like that. That's where the capital gains and the big chunks come in. The performing loans create that stable, passive monthly cash flow. So we don't have to deal with all the landlord hassles and deal with chasing rents and tenants and, people calling us because their toilet got clogged up and they don't know what to do. And we don't have to deal with any of that, right? Oscar. All right, Oscar says he just bought his first house. First of all, congratulations. That's always a cool thing, Oscar. Well done. Bought his first home. Oscar was able to qualify for a $600,000 mortgage loan, but they went out and bought a house for $300,000. Does not want to be house poor. Very good idea. Very good idea. And like Oscar, somebody like you thinks if you've got that kind of credit and if you've got that ability to leverage that kind of money, think of cost of capital, man. You may want to try to figure out how to, sorry, I bumped my phone. You may want to figure out how to go and leverage another 100K, 200K, something, okay? And then put that money to work and start investing that money. If you can cover the spread, right? Let's say the bank would loan you 150 grand at 8%. If your bank would loan you $150,000 at 8%, you could take the $150,000, go put it to work at 12%. You're now making a spread. You're making money off someone else's money. So maybe think about that too. Okay. It'll actually offset, help you pay your mortgage payment. Interesting. But good job for buying your first house, man. And I like that, right? Not getting qualified for a $600,000 mortgage loan and going, yes, and then going out and trying to find something that costs $600,000. That's what most people do. And most people get overextended. So I like that theory, Oscar. Good call. And congratulations for getting your first house, brother. That's awesome. But percentage-wise, Dak Dog, I'm thinking 95% of our portfolio performs. 95% of our portfolio performs. You realize mortgage payment is one of the payments people don't like to miss, if that makes sense, okay? Somebody will let their car payment go late and then catch that up. Somebody will let their credit cards go and say, send me to collections, right? Whatever. But where they live and having a roof over the head, usually the mortgage payment is something that people pay, generally, okay? So we have only about a 5% default rate. 95% of our portfolio just pays every month. Makes it easy. Makes it easy. So guys, the whole point of this today was just to kind of open your minds up a little bit. I guess we got going down different paths and twisted, but I'm opening your mind to get back to the analogy, guys. And by the way, what brought this to my mind is people that I respect and I listen to. So I was listening to Myron Golden, if you guys know who Myron Golden is. And I was listening to something yesterday about what Myron Golden was talking about, and it brought this to mind. And the point was that if somebody was able to save up $1 million, which most people will not do, but if somebody was able to save up $1 million by the time they were, say, 60, 65 years old, save up $1 million, and that's what you're going to use to live off of in your retirement years because you want to stop working. You want to stop creating energy income, right? So you want to retire and you got to live off what money you've got. So if somebody saved up $1 million, and I bet you guys can talk about it right now, and we could agree that we don't know a lot of people in our lives that are approaching retirement and they have $1 million saved up. But let's just say you could. Let's say somebody could save up $1 million. Well, if you put $1 million to work in a safe investment, and people were talking about 5 and 6% here. So let's talk about 5%. You're putting in a very safe investment where you're not going to lose your money. It's a CD account, annuities, these kind of things. You're trying to protect your money so you don't lose it. You can't afford to lose money at this point. You can't afford to speculate and do risky shit. What you're trying to do is save your money and retire. And retirement is about cash flow. Retirement is not about age. So if once you had $1 million and you're like, oh, dude, I got $1 million, now I can retire. Well, you put $1 million to work at 5% and it's only earning you 50 grand a year. That's the interest, the spendable interest that you can live off of, right? Without diminishing your principal. So you put $1 million to work in retirement, you earn 5% return, you're earning 50 grand a year. Could you live off of 50 grand a year? I know I can't. Most retired people maybe can't either. So even that is difficult. And you know that most people are not saving $1 million up. But if you had $1 million saved in retirement, put it to work at 5%, you're making 50 grand a year. That's less than $5 grand a month, right, guys? So why not at any age where we're at now? I don't know how old all of you guys are on here, but it's like, dude, we're going to really try to bet on, we're going to wait until 65 years old. And then from now to when we're 65, we're going to try to save up $1 million, $2 million. If we can do that, then we put that money to work and now we can live and retire. How many people you know are going to hit that? So here's my theory, guys. What I'm trying to open your mind to a little bit is that what would make you equal to someone
that saved up $1 million for their retirement and took their $1 million and put it to work at 5%, making 50 grand per year, which is less than 5 grand a month. So what makes you equal to them automatically? What makes you equal to their financial status if you don't have $1 million sitting in the bank, but they do? Well, here's the thing. If they have $1 million sitting in the bank, it makes them a millionaire, right? It makes them a millionaire. If you have 999,000, no. But if you have $1 million, it makes you a millionaire. Now you're a millionaire now. You have $1 million. You put that to work at 5%, you're making 50 grand a year. Okay. That's less than 5 grand a month. Okay. So why wouldn't we just think the easier route, which is actually doable and possible? The easier route may be that we create little bits, bit by bit. We add them up. We create little bit by bit. We work on it, right? And it may only take a few years, not 40 years of your life to figure this out. Take a few years. And you get to a point where you've got assets that are producing somewhere around $5,000 a month in passive cash flow. If you're creating 5 grand a month in passive cash flow, guys, you are equal to that person that saved $1 million for their retirement and put that to work at 5%. You're already there. So why wouldn't we just get to the retirement number faster, not wait until some retirement age? It's not about age. It's about a number. It's about an amount of passive cash flow that you can live off of and support your lifestyle. That creates retirement. So why wait to 65 to realize we didn't really quite hit it anyways, right? Most people at 65 aren't going to have $1 million or $2 million saved up. Okay. So we know that. So then why are we running down that path so vigorously when we know it's a dead end, right? So my point is this: what can you think of to start creating bits of passive cash flow? If it's $200 a month passive from over here, $500 a month passive from over here, and you've got a couple of avenues that are paying you passive cash flow, it adds up. And if you can get to a $4,000 or $5,000 a month passive cash flow, you are equal to that of somebody that had $1 million. IRAP's back on here talking about his winnings. Let's go. He made unbelievable amount of money on oil futures due to the war. IRAP, wonderful. And now I'll finance 2 builder friends. Well, you can finance me too, IRAP. We're paying 19% on investments over $500,000 right now because we're almost finished building our 32-unit apartment. Random, I totally disagree, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. Random said, money is overrated. Look at what it does to people. Yeah, look at what it does to people. It allows people the ability to help others. It allows people to build hospitals that cure cancer in kids for 50, 70 years straight. It allows people to build apartment buildings like I'm building. It allows people to build apartment buildings where families will live and create memories and raise their families. And this takes money. So I disagree. Money's not overrated. Money's very necessary. And look what it does to people. Yeah, if you want to think negatively, you can say that you can pick people out where they got a lot of money and they turned into assholes or they increased their evil ways because they got richer. Yeah, true. There's going to be good and bad apples. But I know a lot of people that help a lot of people and change the world dynamically for the better because they have money. How did you get into apartments? Well, I started getting into the money business, Oscar, in 2018. I quit my job. I burnt all my bridges and I got into full-time investing. That you start to surround yourself with different individuals and you start to get new connections and new opportunities. And so after a while of proving ourselves in the note space, raising private capital, making great yields for our investors and doing this, we started to be introduced to some people and we got introduced to a great team out there in Florida. I used to say money isn't everything when I was broke too. It's true. It's pretty wild, guys, unfortunately. And guys, they say money, and guys, understand that old statement, right? People say, well, money's the root of all evil. That's wrong, okay? Money is certainly not the root of all evil. The love of money, the idolatry and the love of money can be the root of all evil, okay? But when your cup, my question is this, when your cup is overflowing, do you have extra to help others with? When your cup is empty, it's very difficult to not only help yourself, but to be able to help others, right? Broke ass motherfucker ain't going to build a children's cancer hospital. Costs a lot of money. People that are afraid of money are not going to build a 32-unit apartment building in Florida where people will live and raise their families. So
Money's very necessary. That's why people work their asses off, guys. The 40-40 plan, come on. The 40-40 plan, we've all been sold. We all bought into it. Work 40 years of your life in your best years. Work 40 years of your life. Spend time away from your family and kids. Go and work 40 hours per week for those 40 years of your life. And hopefully there's some little, a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, where when you're older and you have no energy and you've maybe, got health problems and all that, and you can't even enjoy your life as much as you could anymore, now you can retire. And then most older people are retiring not only with health problems and issues because they're older, but they're also retiring half broke and they're stressed out. And have we ever seen the 83-year-old person working at Home Depot or Walmart or McDonald's or whatever? Straight up. Do you think an 83-year-old person wants to get up and go to work every day? Are you out of your mind? But they have to, right? Because at that point in their life, they can't afford their life. They don't have enough retirement built up. No passive cash flow, nothing. They have to continue to work. So it's unfortunate, guys. Think of ways you can start to produce passive cash flow. Of course, in my community, we teach people how to use mortgages. One of the best investment vehicles I've ever seen, how to buy mortgages. And you don't have to have a shitload of your own money to go out and buy a bunch of assets. What you do have to have is the education, the expertise, the support, the team, the community. Those things are what can help you build value. Therefore, you can become valuable to investors, valuable to people that do have money to deploy and they're looking for a good investment opportunity. And if you can be that person, right time, right place, then you can certainly leverage other people's money, make win-win situations for yourself and the investor partner, and you can do a lot of good in the world. The more passive cash flow that you have coming in monthly, the closer you are to retirement. It has nothing to do with age. I'm 46 right now. I'm 46 years old right now. I'm going to retire at 55. 9 years, 8.5, 9 years. Most people can't even say that, but I will. I will certainly retire by the time I'm 55. Now, retirement is also questionable. It's subjective, right? Retirement doesn't mean you just go sit on a beach. Everybody likes to talk that way, but a lot of us are too involved and excited and have fun doing projects and managing money and that. I'm just saying I'm not going to go work or have to hustle anymore after 55 years old. And I can say I am on track for that. But most people can say, well, I'm not on track for that. I wish, but I'm not on track for that. So, today was just to get an idea in your head that you are equal to somebody who saved up $1 million for their retirement, and they put the $1 million to work in a safe investment that can provide lifestyle for them and retire. If somebody who saved up the whole $1 million and put it to work at 5%, which is about the going rate for a super safe investment, you say put $1 million to work at 5%, you're making 50 grand a year. That's the money you have now to live off of in your retirement years, right? Well, how come we just can't make 50 grand a year of passive cash flow now? Why do we have to wait the next 20 years and try to save up $1 million and all this crap, which is mostly impossible for everybody? If you save $100 a week, it takes you 800 years or something like that. I don't know. It's a weird numbers, right, guys? But most people aren't going to save $1 million and retire with $1 million. Dak Dog asking pretty good questions this morning. When you look at a full portfolio of these notes over several years, what kind of net return do they usually average out after everything plays out? Double digit. Certainly double digit yields. Do I invest in stocks as well? Oscar, I don't invest in stocks much. I play more in the cryptocurrency market than I do the stock market. I don't invest a lot in stocks. Oftentimes what I'll do in the stock market is, maybe put money into things that are going to go public, right? I like to get in on things early. I don't necessarily buy a lot of stocks, not heavy in stocks. And the reason I'm not heavy in stocks, guys, so understand something. I want you to understand something. The reason I'm not heavy in stocks is this. For me anyways, this is just me personally. Obviously people have different opinions. For me personally,
You either wake up in the morning, like I do sometimes with my crypto portfolio as well, but you wake up in the morning or whatever, and you look at your charts, right? You open your accounts and you're looking. If everything is green and going up like this, we get kind of elated and excited. And if everything's going down and red like this, we get all depressed and pissed off. But that's what we do. And we're always just hoping that it's going to go up, right? But that doesn't produce me any cash flow. That doesn't produce me any cash flow. And I'm very adamant that cash flow is what sets people financially free. So since I can't collect cash flow from my stocks and I'm just hoping they go up or go down, it's really not my ball of wax. I would much rather, and by the way, if I'm going to invest in stocks, I'm going to invest in cryptocurrency, right? With stocks, I have no control. With the cryptocurrency, I have no control. With mortgage notes, I have full control and I'm protecting my principal. So my theory is that I've been telling people I've been doing since 2021 is I'll invest my money into a mortgage note because it's one of the best investments I've ever seen or run across. So I'm going to take my money and put it into a mortgage note. That mortgage note will now start spitting off passive monthly cash flow. So as I receive the monthly cash flow, if I don't need that monthly cash flow to live off of, then I can monthly cash flow that comes in every single month from that asset, and I can take that monthly cash flow and invest that into stocks and crypto. So my money's not only working in two places, but I'm also investing in stocks or crypto using house money. That means if that whole stock or crypto portfolio went to zero, which it won't, but if it went to zero, you would just be frustrated, a little miffed and pissed off, but you wouldn't have lost any of your hard-earned money. I'm taking my money that's being produced from an asset that I own, and I'm taking that cash flow and DCAing, whether it's stocks or crypto, whatever your choice is. Gold and real estate are the greatest of all times. This is true. Yes, and Oscar, it's a good theory, right? Only investing money in stocks if you're willing to lose that money, because we know it's a gamble. That's true. So that's why I don't invest in stocks much. I don't like to gamble. And I don't like my returns to be subject to something that's way out of my control, right? All of a sudden you wake up and your portfolio's down and you're like, shit. Or all of a sudden you wake up and it's way up and you're like, woo. But either way, it's out of your control. What's up, NJ? Damn, NJ, you got on late today. I'm surprised I'm even still on here. Bethany said, what's up, NJ? We love NJ. But NJ, we talked about creating passive cash flow at around $5,000 a month makes one equal to somebody that saved up $1 million and is going to retire. So somebody that saved up $1 million puts that money to work at 5%, they're earning 50 grand a year. My point is, why can't we just put some assets in place right now that could get you to $5,000 a month passive cash flow? So if you got to a position where you're earning $5,000 a month of passive cash flow, you are equal to that of somebody who's at retirement age that saved up $1 million and retired and put the $1 million to work at 5%. So my point is, most of us will not save $1 million or more by the time we're ready to retire. Most of us won't. But most of you certainly could do what I've done, which is to create passive cash flow. You got $5 grand a month of passive cash flow coming in. You're equal to that of somebody that saved up $1 million and put their $1 million of retirement income to work at 5%. You're already equal to that. Does that make sense? So just anyways, guys, inspire you a little bit to get out there and try to figure out ways to make passive cash flow. And there are several ways to do it, right? You have dividend stocks. You have a laundromat, or what we would say a cash flow producing business. I like mortgage notes because they're extremely passive. But the theory is there's ways for you guys to start accumulating or start creating a little bit of passive cash flow. And if you got $100 of passive cash flow coming over here, $200 of passive cash flow coming from over here, $1,000 of passive cash flow coming from over here, once you start to add that up, guys, and you get to a $5,000 a month point of passive cash flow, you've now created equal to that of somebody that raised or that saved up $1 million for their retirement. Pretty cool, right? So anyways, guys, let's get out there. Let's try to create some passive cash flow. Cash flow really is the king. Cash is not king anymore, right? We understand cash is just losing its value. Cash is being printed. It's not backed by gold. There's an unlimited supply of it. They printed more. They printed 40%. 40%. This is a weird statistic, guys. Over the last 50 years, did you know that just since COVID in the past 4 or 5 years, 40% of the dollar bills in circulation has been created from 2021 to now. 40% of the dollar bills in circulation have been created between 2021 and now, over the last 50 years. What does that tell you about the value or the spending power or the importance of a dollar bill? It's literal printed monopoly money, and they're just printing the shit out of it, and they're going to do it more and more over the next couple of years. So I would say hoarding cash or talking about cash is king, old. That's old news. Cash is certainly not king, but cash flow is what will set you free. Okay? So guys, it was awesome. Thanks for hopping on. Good to see you, NJ, a little bit late. Thanks for being my support system, my beautiful wife, Bethany. And for all your guys' participation, Oscar, IRAP, all you guys. I really appreciate you guys. And we'll be right back here tomorrow, 6:30 to 8 a.m. We'll come with a new subject. We always like to rap about it. And I took a little break physically today. I wasn't feeling the best this morning. I had a hell of a day athletically yesterday, so my body is a little sore. And so we're just chilling and getting a little more intimate here today. But remember that cash flow is king. Try to create cash flow. Cash flow will set you financially free. It's not about how much money you have. It's about how much cash flow is coming in monthly. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. I wish you all the best. And yeah, you are way late, NJ. But hey, we'll see you tomorrow anyways. I'm back. I'm staying consistent for you guys. And we'll talk some more about physical and financial fitness tomorrow. And we'll get killing it. What's up, Swell? How you doing? Good to see you. All right, guys. So I'm going to get out of here. I got stuff to do. I bid you the best. See you tomorrow.